Hello, everybody, and welcome to OpenExO Live. It's really great to be with you this afternoon for me, or morning or evening, wherever you are. It's a great pleasure to have Lucy and Nkohla with us today. And as you can see, there are some awesome people coming up in the next few weeks. And before we get Lucy live here on stage, I am going to just share a few words from some members of our community. And so we start with this one from Mario, and he just said, working with Lucy in the Sprint Coach certification was a very positive experience. I found Lucy to be a serious professional who was always available to work tirelessly with energy and a continuous volcano of innovative ideas. She applies exponential innovation methodologies with passion and success to help individuals, startups, and companies to innovate and co-create with impactful, sustainable, and circular solutions in Africa. We faced great challenges together, and our final Sprint Coach project proved it, attracting the attention of some members of the Philips Board of Directors. It was thrilling and exciting to work together. See you soon for the next experience. We then have from Michael Freber, I met and coached Lucy during the EXO Prize, and we quickly were reduced from 4 participants to just her. It was not that difficult to convince her to continue on her own. She followed up on her commitments and showed great enthusiasm to finish and present. Lucy is a great example of a person that is very empathetic, takes care of her family, and in parallel manages to continue her own learning path. A true exponential person. Frank said, what makes Lucy remarkable is her ability to always put humans first, even within the technological noise that comes along with EXO. Her way of bringing and keeping people together in teams where respect and joy are the key drivers for collaboration, and working really hard is disarming and characteristic of her warm personality. Next from another Michael, how are you doing is always the way Lucy begins, not with lip service, but with natural and real interest. Her interests lie in people and making sure the future becomes more equitable for those who have been underserved. With this empathy and drive, she already shines bright. And then we also have from Kelly, Lucy is a young, vibrant, open-minded, and dynamic woman who is determined to live her life with purpose and be the change that she wants to see in the world. I have thoroughly enjoyed watching Lucy grow from strength to strength this past year, especially within the EXO community. I'm extremely proud to be associated with Lucy and excited to continue working together on some very cool EXO-related initiatives. So those are some of the words that have been shared. Lucy, great to have you. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Kevin, and highly flattered at this moment with all those nice things that everyone has said, all the way from Kelly, which, I mean, obviously, as you know, I'm working quite closely with her, but also including the stuff that was said by some of the guys from the certification. It's quite nice. It's nice to hear, and I guess somewhat reaffirming also. So, yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. That's really what we try and do there. And so before, right at the beginning of this, we always ask folks to give us a bit of a background about you. I guess I should say about Dimakatso. Everyone calls you Lucy. We're an international community, and I think you think people might find that easier. But we are both South Africans, so I should have said Dimakatso. And so tell us a bit about yourself and your journey towards the opening of the community.
Sure. So my name is Dimakatso Lucy. I use both names actually, Kevin, interchangeably, but I do think Lucy is easier for the international audience. But I appreciate the effort you just made now in pronouncing Dimakatso. Great effort, by the way. And I was born in rural Free State, so a small town called Senegal. I think it's just recently been coming up in the news, not necessarily always for the best stuff. But yeah, there's hope for us, hopefully one day. And I studied industrial sociology and labor studies at the University of Pretoria, still in South Africa as well. I do come from a relatively poor background, but I'd like to think I've come up or I've come out from that space, which is obviously what we all want, right? Just experiencing upward social mobility. And then, so let's see, on the career front, I started working at Microsoft. So I was one of the fortunate people in the sense that on the career front, I haven't struggled that much in terms of securing employment, well, until last year anyway. So I started at Microsoft, worked with interns there, really nice, interesting experience working with people from all over the African continent, right? Because I was covering West, East, and Central Africa. From there, I actually moved to Accenture, which is a management consulting company. And in there, I did a bit of work in HR. So I did like a bit of learning and development, but very quickly moved into the consulting space where I was mainly focusing on change management and training kind of initiatives in the digital transformation space, but also maybe working on projects related to do with, let's say, performance management or culture. So I think that combined with even my academic background, because I mentioned industrial sociology, and obviously as part of the degree program in industrial soc, like one of the things or some of the things that I would have learned were to do with like analyzing technological trends or understanding the importance of the context when you are, like, let's say, dealing with other individuals or even organizations. So all of that learning has kind of been coming through into the work that I was doing, but I think also into OpenExO. So that leads me to the question where you said, how did I come into the OpenExO community? So I came into OpenExO through Kelly. So last year, I made a brave decision to leave Accenture. And it was just before the COVID hit and the lockdown situation started in South Africa. And I was unfortunate in that I found myself unemployed, and I sitting at home watching Netflix, crying. But at some point, I reconnected with Kelly. And in reconnecting with her, initially, funny enough, I wanted a job. So I approached it as, okay, let's talk about what opportunities you might have for me on the job front. But I very quickly realized that it wasn't necessarily an interaction that would necessarily lead to a job opportunity. But if anything, she introduced me to OpenExO. So I started doing like the foundation certification. That was interesting. That got me interested. So we started having a lot more conversations around that. And through that, I just learned more about EXO, and I've been involved in a number of initiatives that I can always touch on a bit later in our chat. But yeah, that's why I am with OpenExO.
Awesome. So, I think I've run about 50 of these OpenExO lives now.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit short of 50. And I would say about 90% of the people I speak to are introduced to OpenExO by another community member, which is always so fantastic to hear. And so that's really great. So as you said, I mean, you found yourself in a fairly tough situation last year, and you were introduced to the EXO model. So what really was the first impression there? Having that, having your background, what was the thinking?
Yeah, I think for me, the EXO model, right? Because I mean, it's MTP, scale, and ideas. I think the thing that initially made a very big impression with me would be the MTP, right? So the idea that whether at an individual level or as an organization, you can be driven by a purpose. And this purpose can then also help influence, let's say, the people that you bring into your community or that you attract to come into your community and help you fulfill whatever that purpose or MTP looks like. And I think I found that to be quite powerful. And at the time, I hadn't necessarily defined what my MTP looks like. Very quickly started at the time, and I defined my MTP to be helping to create a more equitable world. And I think at the time I was still like, okay, it kind of resonates. I care about quality. I do get what equity is about and the impact or our contribution that I would like to make in that space. But I think over the past year, it's also become crystallized for me in terms of how I am working, whether it's actively or in some initiatives that I'm getting involved in, working towards contributing or living that MTP for myself. So that I think the MTP was one of the things that really did resonate with me, and just being able to connect it with, let's say, community and crowd And I guess also then I gain engagement because, like I mentioned, with my corporate experience, I worked on things like change management, which obviously includes communications, and therefore things like incentives or things like rewards that really did resonate with me, and I was able to see how I can take those learnings and apply them in the work that I do, whether it's through EXO or working on my own consulting gigs. Yeah, so I think those are the, let's say, three things that kind of did stick out for me.
Now, like you say, I mean, of course, the MTP is critical to the EXO model, right?
Yeah.
Right there at the top, and many people, have developed their own personal MTPs, like you have said, and Salim often speaks about the fact that the future is really about aligning personal MTPs with organizational MTPs. As a way to actually work where it makes the most sense. But in terms of that MTP, you spoke about how you sort of formatted it and crystallizing it over time. And what would be your thinking to sort of younger people who are like, okay, but like, do I really need this MTP? What was really like the first step you took that actually said, okay, you know what, actually having a purpose, allows me to then aspire to a certain thing? What would you think the way to do that would be?
Yeah, I think crazy enough, at the time when I was thinking about my MTP, I was also doing like a coaching session, career coaching session, with a local person that I met on LinkedIn. And she had introduced to the concept of Ikigai. So at the time, I was actually looking at it from the perspective of my career to say, okay, so what am I good at? And what contribution can I make in the world? So I would say like first draft was actually around my career. Whereas when I then came across the concept of an MTP, and then I was thinking about it in relation to my purpose. So strip away the career, take away Accenture, take away Microsoft, take away OpenExO, what's left, right? So what impact do I want to make in the world, and how will I go about doing that? And I think when I started doing that, that's when I got to a point where it became somewhat clear for me. And like I'm saying, without even necessarily always being very intentional in trying to be working towards this MTP and creating a more equitable world, because it really is who I am and what I believe, and I guess the change that I do want to make in the world. It happens. It happens on a small scale, hopefully one day on a big scale, but it's happening. So I think when you are true to yourself, it helps.
Absolutely. Now, we've spoken before a little bit about the whole concept of of learning and then unlearning and relearning, and obviously generally our education systems around the world aren't teaching us about technologies and exponentials. Well, I mean, and maybe in applied maths you learn exponentials, but what is your experience around that, of learning and then unlearning and then actually having to relearn?
Yeah, I must say it's quite challenging. I won't lie. So the first time I actually heard about this whole idea of learning, unlearning, and relearning, and I guess in like the form of a quote and something that I took very seriously to say, what does this mean? Was around 2018, and I think I read a quote while I was working at Accenture, something to the lines of, the illiterate of the 21st century won't be the only people who can't read and write, but it also included like people who aren't able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that's when I took an interest in that whole thing to say, okay, so what does that look like? But I think for me personally, the reality of, or the importance of learning, unlearning, and relearning, I realized the importance of that last year when I found myself in a situation where I had, I guess, somewhat defined or in my mind what my career would look like for the next couple of years. And I guess I had in my mind what it would take to get there. And now COVID happens. I'm not exactly going to go work for the company I thought I was going to work for, or doing the kind of work that I thought I was going to be doing. And I guess at that point, one of the things that I really had to quickly learn is not only just the EXO methodology, but also, I guess, working in a different space. So like, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I co-founded Africa EXO with Kelly after having joined OpenExO. It's not really a company as yet, it's more like an initiative, and we're hoping to drive more initiatives through Africa EXO. But anyway, so in coming up with that initiative, I don't think before 2020 that is something that I necessarily would have been driven to do, because I felt secure in what I knew. But now that disruption and the change that was happening not only in the world but in my own personal world is kind of what drove me to say, okay, what does learning, unlearning, and relearning look like in this space? So the learning, I guess, was the EXO stuff. The unlearning might have been even some of the things that I guess I knew. So let's say the way of working and being in a meeting room with someone, to now actually starting a company or an initiative with Kelly, who was in Cape Town, that I hadn't really met in person to start with as well. So that again was like learning a new way of working or a new way of being. But I think also now, when I'm reflecting back on last year and where I am at this point, so I mean, just before the interview, I had mentioned to you that I've started working as a chief of staff at Livestock Wealth. Before this space, I was working in a corporate. So Accenture and Microsoft are both corporates, whereas Livestock Wealth is a startup, and it's quite different in the way it works. But I'm glad that I'm in this space, because with the tools that I got, that I've got, and that I guess I'm continuing to develop and refine, including the EXO methodology, I feel like I'm better positioned to be able to do that because of the journey that I've been on, this journey of learning, unlearning, and relearning.
No, absolutely. In Kevin Kelly's book, and I cannot remember the title of it. I tried to look it up. 12 trends, something about 12 trends. You know, the one thing he speaks about is in the 21st century, we are all perpetual newbies. We're like always newbies. You have to be constantly
learning
new things. And
yes.
so tell us quickly about some of the amazing initiatives that you've actually got to work with in this sort of past year, right? Through the community.
I mean, I think one of them, Mario, somewhat spoke to it in the introductory comments that he made around the coaching certification and some of the ideas that we come up with as part of the certification program. It were actually really exciting, to the point where some of the disruptors offered basically to say, how do we get you guys in front of Philips? And I think I am especially proud of one of the initiatives that I had contributed in developing, mainly because of the perspective that I think I was able to bring to the conversation, which might not necessarily have been represented in my absence, just purely based on my experience and the person I am, the way I look, where I come from. And I think just taking that forward, and maybe speaking to the point I was making earlier around how this whole equity thing is kind of translating or showing itself in the work that I'm doing. Most recently, I participated with Michael Freeb, Dr. Michael Freeb, also from the earlier comment. I participated in the EXO Prize, and he was my coach, essentially. And one of the initiatives that we came up with, again, I would like to think shows that empathy or that awareness for the other, or being able to include other people in this process. And I guess somewhat exposing them to the EXO methodology, which really is what I envision us being able to do if we rolled out that initiative that we initially defined for the EXO Prize, which really is around getting youth exposed to the methodology, but also helping them identify, I guess, somewhat, and solve for the problems within their own communities. And I really think that we can use the methodology for that. So even if it's not the framework as such and learning the tools, but being able to use the framework to impart a certain kind of mindset, like an exponential mindset. And I think just being able to think exponentially would be a huge game changer for so many people, because I feel like it's been for me. So
no, absolutely, Lucy. I mean, I've often had conversations, especially here in South Africa, speaking to people, saying, like, there is so much opportunity out there, and having some raw conversations with people who come from tough backgrounds, who say, I can't even see those opportunities, just because of the space that I'm in.
The space that you're in.
That, and to come from that angle, I think is really vital. And excited to see how we can develop that initiative. Now, Lucy, we've come to the end of the time. As I said to you, it'll happen quickly.
It really flew by.
I know you need to go and let off some steam, go play some netball. So, how would you like to what would you like to end off with today to those that are watching and those that will see the recording?
Sure. So I guess to those that are watching, which I think includes my friends, my brother and my mother, I want to say hi, and I hope that we'll get to see them in the EXO circles pretty soon. And then for the people that are in the EXO space or in OpenExO already, I think what I would like to say is I look forward to being able to roll out, let's say, the EXO apprenticeship in the way we've defined it or in a different way. And I'm really looking forward to getting the community involved in it, because one of the things that we do call for is being able to leverage the OpenExO community as mentors. I really do hope when that opportunity comes, people are open and they're willing to give of their time and of themselves to help create those opportunities for the other people that we were just talking about now.
Awesome, Lucy. Well, thank you so much for joining. Really great to chat to you. Have a fantastic evening your side.
Thanks, Kevin. You too. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. So that was Dimakatso, Lucy, and Nkohla. Great to always chat to her. I did want to mention we are running a parent event, in fact, today with a South African organization. A lot of South Africanness happening today. If you want to join that, do so. And otherwise, thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you again next week.